Good morning. So we're going to talk about all-in-one financial platforms. I think it's a very connected topic to the previous panel. For those that are not familiar with financial platforms, we're talking about a combination of payment and software solutions, mostly focused on SMBs and growing businesses, but also moving up market. They solve pain points like spend management, expense management, payables, receivables, treasury management, better financial reporting, FP&A, etc. We've seen some successful models in the US like Brex or Ramp or Airbase. We also see some successful cases here. We have some examples here together with us. So we have Gabrielle Thomas, from investment director from Blackfin. She's also a board member at Agicap. Alejandro Vanegas from MasterCard, leading payment provider. And also Eduardo Petit-Quiros from Conto, operating out of France, but also in Spain, Italy, and Germany, and myself, and I'm CEO and co-founder at Camino, which is a similar all-in-one financial platform, but operating out of Brazil, an emerging market. We also solve treasury management problems, spend management, very similar, but with the particularities of an emerging market. No? Going right to the point, there is always an important topic in these financial platforms, talking about payment versus software. And I would like to talk a little bit about monetization and stickiness. So Eduardo, first, if you can give us your take on what brings the stickiness into your product for your SMB's clients at Conto.
Sure. Thanks a lot, Gonzalo. So just for those that maybe don't, I don't know if... No.
It's not working here, the mic.
Now I think.
I think now it's working.
Wait. Hello? Yes.
Yeah.
Now I think it does. Yeah. Sorry about. I was saying a lot. I think it's this maybe that it's going a bit. I don't know if if it does. I don't. Hello. Yes. Well, I'll try. Sorry about that. Might take this off so it does. Okay, now much better. Yes. Well, thanks a lot, Gonzalo. Just for those that don't know us, Conto is the leading European banking finance solution. And in order to answer your question in terms of stickiness, just to give you an example of when we launched in 2016, first in France, we really launched as your day-to-day banking platform. So really we were trying to cover this pain that it was how banking transactions for SMBs, they were very complex and they were taking a long time to do very simple stuff. But from there we evolved into the all-in-one solution that we're talking about here today. And why did we do this? Is because we saw that actually in order to bring stickiness, we needed to offer a platform that it was a platform of all trades. Why did we do this? Because we saw that our customers, they evolved because they had other needs, SMBs, they evolved, and the fintech segment or industry, it evolved too. So we had to go from offering, making your transactions easier to actually offering other type of features such as invoicing, expense management, even financing or even accounting, let's say, functionalities. So for us, that's what actually brings stickiness, being able to adapt to your customer and that your customer feels like they're getting added value from your software, let's say in this case. And that here, the challenge would say in terms of stickiness is how do you manage to deliver this value for the customers at the same pace that they need it. So because, customer demands are getting higher and higher and higher. So in that term, something such as partnerships, that is what I'm in charge of at Conto, it's essential and it's very important because we're able to offer our customers, let's say, additional services at a fraction of the time, and it doesn't really have any impact on our product roadmap or on our product resources that in tech, as we all know probably here, they could be quite scarce. So yeah, that's for us what brings the stickiness.
Okay, great. Thank you, Eduardo. So that's about the stickiness, but also some of the challenges that these models are facing is obviously focused on monetization. Gabriel, if you can give us your take about the revenue models, payment versus software, and your experience at Agicap.
Yes, sure. So I'll try to give a VC perspective here to add another perspective to the panel. So first of all, subscription models have appeared as a very virtuous model for startup. When we are analyzing startup, we really like when it's a SaaS subscription because we think it's resilient, we think it's solid, and the churn may be low. Whereas when it comes to transaction or commission models, it's a way to align more easily interests between a service provider and the end user and the customer. But at the same time, it can be more volatile. So of course, we are looking at it with a different angle. But if I split the last 10 years, I've been a VC for the last 10 years. So if I split the last 10 years in 3 periods to analyze our perception of these models and these models mix. From like 2015 to 2019, we were very bullish on all the transaction-based model because we thought like for product-led growth it was very explosive and the scalability was uncapped. So it was very very exciting. Also, so the valuation were sometimes like 50% higher than for a SaaS subscription model-based fintech. And then the COVID came and the lockdown. So for many fintech, especially in the spend management or expense management, the usage dropped a bit or it changed a lot. And so the SaaS part appeared to be more resilient. It was very hard for all these companies at the time because there was also an increasing competition. So they were all trying to compete on the pricing on the SaaS part to get new customers on board. So it was very contradictory, and it was a tough paradox for I think many fintechs that were trying to have the right mix between these two models. And now that the economic context has changed a bit too. For the last 6 months, we see a new change again. So the third period I was mentioning, and we have the feeling that the transaction-based and commission-based model are like kind of back a bit, and so this is the new again a trend that we are very close to, and we are trying to monitor. And we are very curious about how it will evolve over the last years, the next years.
Great. So on your side, Alejandro, Mastercard is a great partner, enabler of these platforms, and also a partner that is not only regional, local, but also global. What type of trends do you see now, present and future?
So this is an amazing landscape. We've seen, what the colleagues have said, an interesting evolution, also in terms of the niches of our sub-segments of SMBs that we've seen. So we've seen an evolution of what different groups want. So it's not the same what a tradesman needs, which is basically cash flow support and able to access to capital to manage their inflows, versus what a small professional service lawyer needs, which is more in the think of how they can expand their business globally. But in essence, we've seen 3 things: how they need to manage their payments, so going back to the old days of the basic accounting and card propositions. Second, cash flows management, which is now more in the sense of smart solutions to access capital. And the third, which is how they can grow their business, and going back to the subscription models and what COVID spurred in terms of new business models. We've seen how they need to go digital and how they need to digitalize the whole payment flow. And what we've seen, it's a switch from the traditional MVPs that were provided by the bank 5 years ago, starting to focus on the assessment with the same proposition across all the sub-segments, to what we see now, which is a more fintech-based approach, platform-based, in the form of embedded finance, where now more and more SMBs are being attracted because they go into a one-stop shop model where they have everything what they need in an easier format. So this is interesting, and we'll see how this evolves in the future.
Great. So we've talked about payments, software monetization, subscription models, transactional models to grow fast. But there is a second challenge of these platforms, is the go-to-market. So some of them focus on SMBs, others are going up market too. You've seen that trend at AGCAP and also at Blackfin. If you could share with us some learnings about that experience, please, Gabriel.
Yes, thanks, Gustavo. Yes, we have seen this trend very much. Both companies moving from startups to SMEs and from SMEs to mid-market or bigger SMEs. So these are very solid trends. Why do we see that? What are the reasons for this? According to what we saw, the reason are like to better the unit economics. So first of all, to better the average basket, because of course, if you go to a bigger company, you can have maybe a bigger SaaS or commission revenue. And the second reason is to better the churn, because the bigger companies are more resilient to the economic context. And this was a big concern over these last 2 years. I think many companies, many fintech, decided to go up market in like 2 years ago or 3 years ago because of the doldrums, kind of. And the third reason why they are going up market is to better the payback. So payback has been one of the main metrics that was analyzed by VCs over these last 2 years because of the scarcity of money and the need of more operational efficiency to adapt to the new market context. So like these two unit economics are more can be better going up market. But when you go up market, it comes also with a lot of risks. The first risk is the product market fit risk. I mean, your product maybe is not adapted, is not fitted to your new customer. So you have to analyze who will be your new customer, how many people will buy it in one company, who will be the decision makers, and sometimes it changes a lot when you're facing just one founder, and now you have the CFO and or the treasury manager and many other stakeholders to the decision. So there is all these product market fit things to better handle. Then you also have a huge risk regarding the sales and operation structure in your company. So how can you organize your sales team to tackle and to go up market? For AGCAP, they started with a very strong outbound team, and they were more focused on SMEs. They spent a lot of time with the customers, trying to feel what was the right feedback to adapt the product and the sales strategy. Going up market, it means having account managers. It means changing a lot the way you are organized to go to see the customers and then to manage the relationship. Another risk also you can face when you go up market is the sizer effect. So it means that you are investing a lot to go up market on your product, on your sales team organization, and on your marketing. But at the same time, you invest less in the SMEs and the legacy customer base. So you face a churn, and it takes more time to go up market, so you can face a kind of a sizer effect. In the case of AGCAP, they are handling this situation well, but it's something we have seen many times, because sometimes when a company comes to us to raise a round, they say, we have a new strategy, that's why we want to raise fund. And yes, we need to have a kind of proofs for this traction to be convinced. So it can be hard also in this regard.
Taking one step back, Eduardo, why SMBs? Why do they prefer these new solutions versus incumbents, which at the end in Europe, the financial institutions are quite well developed?
Yes, so giving the perspective, because that exactly as after giving more like, let's say, the investment opinion on that, like what do actually SMBs need and why would they come to new solutions? Here, like what we really have to think first is historically, the SMB segment, let's say, well, it's not a segment, but the SMBs, they were neglected in a sense. When we talk about banking or financial institutions, it was more focused on the B2C, right? So on the retail, how do we get those clients, you know, etc. But we have to see that actually these SMBs, what they need is they're putting the money of their business onto a bank account or a financial service, and they need to actually see that it works, that it's reliable, etc. So they need a solution that maybe is a bit more digital because it actually covers their needs in terms of security, you know, what the features they need, etc. At Conto, we always say, or we try to define Conto as reliable, easy to use, fast, that are really terms that describe what the SMBs they need to see. And in this sense, when we transition, as I said before, from this, you know, your day-to-day banking to your all-in-one solution, what we were trying to address was 3 very specific pain points. The first one that I mentioned before, and that, of course, as a fintech, it's implicit that it has to be like that, but it's technology that works. As I mentioned before, making a transfer or ordering a card should take you 2 clicks, and that tops a security factor. It shouldn't be, you know, processes and days and talking to an agent, etc. So that's something that for us is key. Second of all, transparency, talking before about the subscription models, etc. When it comes to banking or financing, here what we're trying to do is offering, let's say, a transparent subscription model where you know monthly what you're going to pay for and why you're paying for it. So it's not, again, not knowing why you're paying commissions for a service that you don't even use, or what is actually bringing you the value of having to get other products so your offering is cheaper. So that doesn't make sense. To give an example, at Conto, it can go as little as from €9 a month, that you can have basic needs for your business, and it can go up to 249 based on the needs that you have. If you need cards for your expense management, for your sales team, etc. So you can go up to that, and other type of features. And let's say the third pain point basically is customer support that it was mentioned before, but that we're talking about B2B SMBs. Again, they have their money on these platforms, so they need to know that they're supported. What we're talking about is that you don't have to fight, let's say, to get an answer for a problem because your interface, your banking interface doesn't work. Here at Conto, what we offer is that in 15 minutes, you can get an answer to any type of problem, and that is not a robot behind. So it's basically a person that is telling you, look, you can do this on the platform, like it's going to work, don't worry, your money's safe. So in general here, what I think like a lot of these B2B fintechs, and especially Conto in this case in Europe, what we're doing is putting again the SMBs at the center, let's say at the core of the business, that before they were a bit like separate, like, okay, we're going to do this product, and if then SMBs, they like it, that's it, but you know, whatever. But we're trying to put them back at the center because that's where they should be. And for them to feel like, you know, they're getting this platform, they're paying for it, and they have like a good service instead of sometimes feeling like the bank is their client, you know, because they have to make them happy. It has to be the other way around. So for us, those are the main key points that SMBs, they're looking, and that's why they're going to these all-in-one solutions.
Okay, thanks, Eduardo. And Mastercard, what do you see the trends, the evolution on the value prop for both SMBs and going up market?
So I strongly coincide with what Eduardo has said. So what we've seen is, you know, traditional financial institutions started with trying to serve a segment that absolutely they forgot they have there. As a result of PSD1, they started to think on how they could make more profitable business out of this commercial cards business. So started to develop very basic account and cards proposition, which were a little bit all for everyone. So there was not particularly customized propositions from the different segments. Towards what we're seeing now, which is a more one-stop shop where if you have a specific needs, you can select what you want in a single spot, and in a more open architecture model where you can integrate new partners, new services that every year we see new fintechs that are bringing new things. And one of the things that we've seen in Europe that is extremely relevant looking for SMBs is 3 elements that absolutely need to be incorporated in this MVP. One is invoicing. This is becoming more and more relevant in the way how you want to get paid and how you want to generate the process of issuing an invoice. The second is, as today exists in the retail space, so today in the B2C models, we see rewards programs. Of course, SMBs want to be rewarded for the financial services activity, but today the only thing what we see it's based on car activity. What we see it's more and more this has to be based on the SMB full behavior, so beyond the car usage. And last but not least, the third element that we are seeing getting a lot of traction is cybersecurity and cybersecurity solutions. As they are going digital, they are building their own, in some cases, e-commerce platforms to sell online. fraud is becoming, as you probably guys know, as a result of the spur of e-commerce of the last 3-4 years, and a perfect spot for the hackers. So I think SMBs, which are not specialized on managing these platforms, are demanding more sophisticated solutions that can help them manage that flow. If we look on how SMBs evolve and we see more on the medium-sized to large corporates, we see a totally different thing. What we're seeing is an interest to have integrated from procure to pay flows. So from generating a purchase order to kind of generating the invoice and pay. Today, this is totally split up. Today, traditional banks are offering cards from one side, are offering financial service platforms that help them in some cases finance or discount these invoices, but today this is not integrated. This is in a batch process in typically ACH modes, which take several days to process. What we're seeing more and more is that our fintechs are collaborating with banks now to be able to integrate the whole process, and this is becoming more and more relevant because there will be mandated regulation on companies that have turnover above 8 million euros that will need to issue every single invoice on electronic format. So if this is going to be absolutely key to have a way where by every invoice I issue, I have payment reconciled, reporting done, and capacity to generate access to capital. In today's world, if you want to, you need to pay up front and you want to get financing from a bank, this will take you 1-2 weeks to get it done. And now with virtual cards, you can actually get that finance right off the bat when the vendor wants to get paid. So I think a lot of innovation happening there, and I would say a combination of platform-based players like you guys and financial institutions that need to accelerate the way that they serve today. In the future, maybe they will end up collaborating. No?
Good. So I'm going to ask you now a little bit about how the evolution of these models you see. For me, it's great to listen to these cases because at the end, we're talking about developed economies in emerging markets like where Camino with K, right? Like the planet in Star Wars. In Brazil, we are going to learn with models like you. In Brazil or in Mexico, where you see large number of SMBs that represent a lot in terms of number, but very small in terms of GDP. They're starting to experience with a credit card difficulties with payables, with receivables. This is what we're building now in Brazil with Camino, but you guys are upfront on that. If you can give us, like in a very short period of time, like in 1 minute, what's your vision? Where do you think 2 years from now, 3 years from now, your companies will be, these models of all-in-one financial platforms will be here in Europe, no? Starting with Conto. With
yes,
Eduardo.
Sure. I can start. On that sense, just to, you gave a few numbers like about Brazil. In Europe, we have to look that there's more than 25 million SMBs and they represent 56% of the GDP.
Brazil is only that. Just all Europe, Brazil is that.
Yeah, but but if you compare size, but we do what we can with the market that we have with the and in terms of we're lacking the sense because with different countries, even if you put them together, it's almost the size of Brazil. But we have similar regulations, so we have the opportunity to go to a lot of markets on a fraction of the time on that sense. But I was gonna say that at the end of the day, it represents like a very big economy and it's a thriving economy, even if right now the economic situation is not as good as it could be. But in terms of that, really the mission of Conto that we see is go even more on this all-in-one banking solution for all of these SMBs that we see in Europe, because there's a lot of work to be done, and a lot of them, they still rely on these more traditional solutions. So we have to see exactly how can we get to them through other different solutions, and in the sense of Conto, how can we actually help them grow in the way that we can. So for us, the main challenges, let's say, would be how do we keep delivering, let's say, quality, which is essential, not just fall back. You need to keep delivering all this quality. Also, something very important in terms of how do we keep bringing this delight to our customers at the time that we grow, because it's not the same thing. Well, right now we have 350,000 customers across Europe that we're bringing this delight, and when you see at the Net Promoter Score, we're at +75 compared to traditional banks that is at -13. So there you see that there's like a big difference, but how, when we scale, can we keep with this delight for the customer? So that's essential. And in the terms of product, how can we keep delivering product or no functionalities fast, but that it keeps that, let's say, value and that quality, so that we stay on the lane of the market trends. And finally, yes, so the mission is in 2025 have 1 million SMB customers, bringing all of these functionalities to them.
Focus on SMBs.
Yes.
Good. Alejandro? Quickly.
In 30 seconds, I mean, we see two things happening. One is we talk about embedded finance. This is especially relevant on the acquiring space, especially when in Europe we have a very complex APM ecosystem where we have cards, we have ACH, we have players like IDL, Bithum, etc. happening. So I think more and more these platforms that today represent only 5 to 10% of total volumes will need to become much more relevant for SMBs to help them manage all the payment flows. And I think more and more we're going to see an acceleration of platform models where either by the fintechs, models like Quanto or ICAP or you guys or banks trying to get into that model in combination or collaboration with fintechs. This absolutely needs to be the spot, because we see still a huge opportunity of SMBs that today are not being served. And you know, they are lacking this service. So in the future, I think it's going to be a platform-based model.
Thank you. Gabriel, please.
I won't be long on this one, as you said already many things, but I think the future is very exciting, and there are a lot of opportunity to be grabbed in Europe. We are sure there will be also consolidation on the market because all the players want to capture all the market and to be the only one tool for the CFO at some point. So it has already begun, but I think big players will concentrate and buy others towards more payment features maybe, and maybe also deeper into the value chain. Yes, I think a lot of companies have met a difficult time these 2 last years, so there are a lot of M&A acquisition target for the emerging leaders such as Conto, such as Pleo, Agicap, and so on.
Yeah, great. Yeah, we already seen some M&A to emerging markets. Great. So we finished. Thank you very much. We have 30 seconds, maybe just a quick question. Maybe.
Any questions? Anyone?
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank
Thank you,
you very
guys.
much. Thank you.
That was great.